just provided proof and examples of how they engaged in a smear campaign against Blake Lively. This is the post by ex-patriarch. It is going viral right now because it's talking about an email that hit the court docket today. This email is so damning. It explains everything. Now, this was gotten through a subpoena by Blake Lively's team to Katie Case. Katie, who was working for Melissa Nathan at TAG up until December, had actually worked for Stephanie Jones at JonesWorks before that. Now, she gave this as part of her subpoena, and she lists all the ways that her team at TAG, as well as Jed Wallace, Jamie Heath at Wayfarer, etc., were all participating in this smear campaign against Blake Lively. When Blake Lively first dropped her CRD complaint in December, we saw this, a scenario planning guide that was made up saying confidential, the objective at the top, protect the reputation of Justin Baldoni, Jamie Heath, and Wayfarer Studios. It went on to list different scenarios. If this happens, we're going to respond like that. Now we've seen the email that states exactly how they did it step by step, including writing, the integral part here is to execute all without fingerprints. The email was sent by Katie Case on Wednesday, August 7th, and it was sent to Jamie Heath, the producer of It Ends With Us, BFFs with Justin Baldoni, Jennifer Abel, Justin Baldoni's publicist, Melissa Nathan, the crisis PR manager, Brianna B., which also worked at TAG, and it's called Social Digital Mitigation Remediation. The team will focus on the social and digital elements, boosting SEO efforts and updating with new content to enforce SEO efforts. So SEO means search engine optimization. Now, what that means is if you have really good SEOs, your content will get pushed to the forefront on all the pages you're looking for. So if you have really good SEOs, you might be the first hit on a Google search. Monitoring and directly enforcing forums that are working against Justin and Wayfarer to adjust the narrative in real time. And collate assets and background to work in conjunction with Jen and her team, as well as TAG PR. Then we have the part about executing this without fingerprints. We've already heard them talk about this as being an untraceable campaign, and now they're just reiterating that, saying there's going to be no fingerprints, although we're finding there are some, aren't we? Now they get into exactly what they're going to do. It says specific efforts include monitor and report forums, threads, sites, links, and more that are working against Wayfarer Studios, just in the overall narrative, as well as derogatory comments. Now, this is fairly common for PR management. You want to make sure you know what's out there, the narrative that's going around, and make sure you're covered for all aspects. This next one's kind of interesting. Leverage your relationships with Discord, Reddit, X, IG, TikTok, YouTube, etc., to expose behavior of Blake and other parties, both current and past, and engage directly with communities to adjust or influence the conversations taking place in real time. I'm pretty sure we can all remember the articles and posts and videos that were going around highlighting every little thing Blake Lively has ever done in her whole life that may have looked questionable. Funny enough, the same thing is in the scenario planning. Listen to this one. It says that our recommended approach would be for you to provide reporters who reach out for comment, should it be obvious she's referring to you, with the appropriate background information to ensure their stories are balanced and the speculation can be turned to another one of the many people she's had issues working with, like Leighton Meester and Anna Kendrick. In the key messaging points of this section, they specifically say which things they want seeded. They say production members lost their jobs due to Blake Lively's takeover. When Blake Lively wasn't able to get her way on set or behind the scenes, she involved her husband to create an imbalance of power. Blake Lively's less than favorable reputation in the industry spans decades and has been reported. There were issues on Gossip Girl, The Town, A Simple Favor, and more. They even go as far as stating this is basically retaliation if she comes forward with her allegations. It says, our prediction is that Blake Lively will address her experience on set in upcoming press. And it states here that they don't think that she's going to name Justin because she doesn't want to jeopardize being in the film's sequel, and that they're concerned about her passionate fan base. They knew how loved Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds were until all of this took place. Utilize CTR, which is the click rate, manipulation, and contextual links to push up positive PR to change subject matter opinion on the first page of Google. They wanted their narrative on the first page of Google instead of Blake's. It goes on to say, work to remove links that are harmful to them, disavow and report outdated or cache non-relevant links, properly and strategically monitor damaging Reddit, subreddits, X, and Discord, including threads related to concerning opposition, and manage the narrative. This can be done with legacy admin for each platform. As part of this, expert admins will also monitor and protect peripheral elements like Wikipedia, fan pages, and more to ensure threads and narratives are handled properly. Actively sway the algorithm with one SEO charged hub or site created and overseen by the team. Wouldn't we love to see that website? I don't even know how this is possible, but according to this, Jed Wallace, I'm assuming, created an SEO charged hub or site that would oversee the whole thing and sway the algorithm online, taking down full Reddit and all social accounts as needed. Organically, oh, don't they love that word? Everything that happened to Blake was organic. Organically engaging with audiences in the right way, starting threads with theories the team approves of, and asking questions that no longer place Wayfarer and Justin on the back foot, changing the overall narrative and helping keep it on track. Ladies and gentlemen, that is how a smear campaign works. This is exactly what Justin Baldoni's team put into place and what they implemented, and why Blake Lively has now issued the subpoenas trying to get the evidence needed for things like this. She would not have received this without the subpoena. That is how you run a smear campaign. That is how you plan it, and that is how you execute it. For everyone saying this was organic, it absolutely wasn't. Having Blake Lively's past drudged up, old interviews drudged up, that was literally their plan. And they wanted to seed this organically, not through bots. They didn't want to pay content creators. They wanted to use their own apps and creations and devices to push this out there and have people pick it up. This to me is a perfect example of the smear campaign. This is the TMZ article, the very first article that was ever posted about Blake Lively's complaint and suing Justin Baldoni. This is not the New York Times. This is TMZ. And it was posted Eastern time. This was 7:54 a.m. And do you know what was happening at 2 a.m. Eastern time? Justin Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, was typing up his response to Megan Twohey for the New York Times article. Do you know what else was happening at 2 a.m.? This article was being written up. In Blake's actual complaint, she specifically states that they were obligated contractually to follow the marketing plan that had been put in place by Sony and Wayfarer, and that everyone had agreed on, and Justin Baldoni had started doing that marketing, the very first one to do it, in May. However, that's not what the TMZ article stated for some reason. It stated instead this: Blake wanted a more upbeat pitch about her character's resilience as per the marketing plan, whereas Baldoni wanted the focus to be on DV and chose to go off script from the plan. Who gave that to TMZ? Because that was not in her CRD complaint, which they didn't have yet because the New York Times hadn't published it yet. The only person that could have done that, in my opinion, was his lawyer, Brian Friedman, or maybe Melissa Nathan, the crisis PR at TAG. The last line in this says, the social teams are now worried about Blake activating the Taylor Swift fan base, which is a major concern. With this in mind, and to ensure Justin and the studio are 100% protected moving forward, they have now changed the fee to $30,000 per month due to the uptick in social chatter. All of the Swifties out there need to take a huge bow because that price increase was thanks to you. They were so concerned with Taylor Swift's fan base that Jed Wallace increased his price. So these are the quotes, if you remember, of what originally went out to the Wayfarer team. They were asking for $25,000 per month, and it was going to have to be for a minimum of 3 months, which means $25K for 3 months, $75,000. So because of this icon's fan base, Jed Wallace ended up earning $5,000 more a month. So he ended up getting $90,000 $30,000 from Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer. And they provided receipts. We saw the invoices for all 3 months that he was paid $30,000 for what he did. I started this with a quote from ex-patriarch, and I'm going to end it with one too. Since the beginning, Wayfarer have insisted they may have planned to launch a smear campaign, but never executed on it. This email ends that defense. Justin Baldoni and his team have now openly admitted to everything they stand accused of.